It's a story of numbers, of economic predictions and scientific theories.
Imagine this is in the Gulf. You're generating solar power more cheaply than you could generate from gas.
我觉得要感谢我们超过100万的太阳能光伏产业工人。
The single thing that will shift people off high carbon energy and into lower carbon energy is going to be the price.
Prices above competitive markets, there needs to be subsidies. When that situation is broken and free market decides to go for solar, it will break like a dam is broken.
This is Backlight. Welcome to a future full of new energy. The ink on the climate agreement had hardly dried when in January, the yearly World Future Energy Summit took place. In Abu Dhabi, world leaders, investors and businessmen assembled to talk about energy.
Your Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, ladies and gentlemen.
But they didn't just talk about the climate agreement. The main topic was what had happened to the price of sustainable energy.
We have made a good start. There has been remarkable progress on many fronts. The fall in prices for renewable energy, especially solar energy, and the emergence of new business models are bringing sustainable energy within reach.
As a result of progressive advances in technology, policy, and finance, those solutions are reliable, efficient, and commercially competitive. We are seeing sustainable and clean technologies ramping up across all geographies, all industries, and in the most unusual places.
Last year, while all eyes were on the Paris climate negotiations, just outside Dubai in the United Arab Emirates, history was being made. This solar energy plant has changed the world. Last year, a contract was signed to expand this solar plant. The new part of the plant will produce electricity more cheaply than gas plants. Sustainable energy experts all over the world were taken by surprise by the deal. Michael Liebreich is one of them, who since 2004 has been running Bloomberg New Energy Finance, a leading research agency for investors in sustainable energy.
The DEWA solar project was really a wake-up call, particularly in the Middle East region, but really around the world, because it was an unsubsidized project, unsubsidized price, and it came in at 5.84 US cents per kilowatt hour. It opened the floodgates to a lot of countries saying, well, we would quite like a piece of that. I have never had any doubt that the costs of these technologies would come down. Early in my career, one of the things I learned to do was to calculate experience curves. The experience curve, the way it works is every time you double the cumulative experience in a particular activity, the costs come down by a roughly fixed amount. And I've calculated them in my career for many, many industries. Of course, in semiconductors, there's the famous Moore's law, which is the 50% reduction in every 18 months. But that's really a special case in an industry which is doubling volume so quickly and so consistently in terms of the number of microchips and that pervade everything around us. That continues to grow at such a rate that the doublings happen very quickly. It's the same with whether it's the solar cells and panels, or whether it's the inverters, or whether it's the software that you use to control it. Also, the wind turbines. There's a lot of steel and concrete involved, and that doesn't go down in cost quite as fast, but all of the wind-specific components, all the software that manages it, the blades which are very specific, etc., that's all coming down in cost on these very consistent experience curves. The destination, that sense of inevitability, you have no doubt, because it's just wait and then you'll reach that tipping point.
Renewable energy is subject to manufacturing economics, where all products go down in cost the more you make, versus the competition, fossil fuels, are resource-oriented, not manufacturing, and the cost of resources goes up the more you use. And so you fundamentally have two curves that we're going to cross, and they've crossed in the last 5 years, in particular the last 3 years. And so I've had a smile on my face for 20 years, and I knew this was going to be a big winner. If you really got into the numbers, and this, I said, this is unstoppable. I saw this coming, and it's just fantastic to be here now and to see it happening. And then wind turbine costs have really come down as they build bigger towers, longer blades, more efficient gearboxes. The whole thing has just improved. And so the cost of solar electricity, the electricity from solar energy, has dropped 80% in the last 5 years. The cost of wind electricity has dropped 50% in the last 5 years. So in both cases, the electricity from wind and solar has come into economic competitiveness, finally.
To save us from climate change, the world needs to switch to sustainable energy. It is doable, but only if the energy becomes really cheap. There is one country where they have understood the urgency: China.
There was the rise of a hugely important issue in China, which is air pollution in the cities. That is really a catastrophic situation, and hundreds of thousands of people's lives being blighted.
Determined to take some major steps, China came up with a cunning plan to produce lots of solar panels and wind turbines.
实际上是我们太阳能起步呢，是从98年开始起步的，然后2003年的时候，我们做的第一个项目，年产只有3兆瓦，现在呢，我们是年产达到4个吉瓦左右，相当于过去4年的产量，这就是从规模上的一个变化。大家看到的，这就是一条完整的太阳能电池的生产线，这是整个太阳能组件的生产过程中最核心也是最关键的部分。通过这个环节呢，就是我们把太阳能硅片转换成太阳能电池片。这样的线我们有30多条，所以说其实很小的一部分。
Well, it's their plan. The Chinese Communist Party has a 100-year plan. They set a plan where they would drive their economic growth with low-cost, coal-fired power to get wealthy. And then they would use their wealth to clean it up with clean energy. And so, whereas the Chinese seemed like they were terrible people, they were actually implementing a plan knowingly that unfortunately they would be damaging the environment, but they bet that they would make such wealth they could then clean it up. They have goals like last year they had a goal for 2020 of 100 gigawatts of solar PV and 200 gigawatts of wind by 2020. And this is a plan they gave in 2014. Well, they updated that plan this year. They normally don't do that. It's every 5 years. But they did a one-year update, increasing both of them by 50 gigawatts. I mean, the U.S. has 8 gigawatts installed, right? And they're installing at 18 gigawatts a year. And, oh my God, this is fantastic what they're doing. And 250 gigawatts of wind by 2020. No, they're getting more aggressive with the plan because they see they can do it.
During the next few years, China will speed up the transition to sustainable energy even further. But what's going on here? Why does China believe it can introduce wind and solar energy so much sooner than we in the West?
实际上的话呢，在因为一个新技术，它从开始的研发到大规模的推广使用，它中间有一个过程。这个过程里边的成本是呈现一个开始比较高，慢慢下降那么趋势。但是实际上就随着你这个应用规模越大，它的成本就越低。你比如说这个中国这个，你看这里边有个曲线， 这中国的勒宁科夫啊，这个中国的勒宁科夫，这个是什么意思呢？这上面就介绍的就是风电的发电的成本。发电的发电成本就是每1000瓦多少欧分啊？这是个英文的，这欧分，欧洲的欧分。这个的话呢，就是那个中国的装机容量啊，这中国的装机容量。这个是比如说这是到这个这到这2亿，这是2亿千瓦，对吧？这2亿千瓦。前边的话呢，比如到这儿的话呢，这是1亿千瓦啊。再往前边点的时候，实际上你看明显的下降了。实际上就是说呢，什么意思呢？在中国的装机在这个在5000万千瓦的时候啊，它就下降了很快了啊，就可以发现很快了。将来，但是呢，在未来的话呢，这会儿下降的非常快。但是你到这个，比如说达到中国的那个装机容量达到2亿的时候，它下降的就开始就比较这趋势比较缓慢了。这个过程，特别是从那个开始没有到1亿之间。这个下降是非常快的啊！这个的话呢，实际上不光是我发现了，这整个的中国这个好多的研究人员啊，还有这个企业，特别是企业界啊、政府啊，都发现了，他发现这个有意思。
And you have to imagine this like a big dam. As long as the price is above competitive markets, there need to be subsidies. When that situation is broken and free market decides to go for solar, it will break like a dam is broken.
That transition from the incumbents in energy also enables social shifts, which are really long overdue. The energy industry is probably the most macho and socially backwards and corruption-ridden industry in the world. That's not even a controversial statement. That you could prove that just by reading a newspaper.
This reduction in the price of sustainable energy is causing the reshuffling of many a deck all over the world. New major investors are seeing solar panels and wind turbines in a different light.
We now face the real pool of capital in the world. And arguably there's different numbers, but there's something like $130 trillion to $150 trillion equivalent of capital in the hands of these institutional investors. That's the pool of capital in the world. That's all the wealth of the world is out there in these institutional investors, and we are gaining access to that. So we're literally having a higher supply of capital. It's not just chasing capital, they're also allocating to us. More capital is available. In fact, they now complain that there aren't enough green investments for them because they've allocated so much capital. So that's a good problem to have. The interest of the capital markets, the stock market investors, the bond market investors, the pension funds, the insurance company investors, the managed funds, the private equity funds, and so forth, where the large capital is, and it's extremely sophisticated, and they are not going to move their criteria because solar energy is nice. Solar energy has to meet their criteria. I personally participated in creating the green bond market in the last 2 years only. It's brand new, but very famous already, very successful. Where Solar City was the first solar securitization done in 2013. So huge innovations in that. It all came together. There were teams of people like myself actively working to crack the code, solve these problems, match with the capital market requirement, package these things. It's like new architecture or new buildings or whatever. This is new finance, and it's for the good.
The combination of China's scaling up and financial innovations on Wall Street is resulting in rapidly falling prices for sustainable energy. In the Middle East, solar energy is so cheap that it's being used for the extraction of oil. In Oman, for instance, solar energy is being used to pump up heavy oil, when this used to be done with natural gas. The price of wind and solar energy hasn't bottomed out yet. It is expected that over the next few years, prices will drop substantially. But even if wind and solar energy becomes dirt cheap, we're still not where we want to be.
Never forget, we have to talk about the system, because as you get more and more renewable energy, intermittent energy in the system, So you've got to invest elsewhere in the system, in the grid, perhaps in power storage, in order to continue to operate. It's about ecosystem changes where you can do some of this and then that enables that and then you can do some of the other and then this changes and so on. To use Facebook terminology, it's complicated.
Now that sustainable energy will become permanently cheaper than energy from fossil fuels, more attention is being paid to avoiding fluctuations in the electricity supply. In Utrecht, the Netherlands, Robin Berg thinks he has found a solution. He wants to use the battery packs of locally based electric cars to store the cheap solar electricity produced by all the local solar panels, and to use it in local homes when the sun isn't shining.
Dit zijn panelen zijn inmiddels 15 jaar oud.
En waarom heb je die vervangen?
Nou, ik wou meer productie, dus ik heb nu nieuwe panelen op mijn dak gezet afgelopen jaar. En we hebben nu op hetzelfde dak 6 keer zoveel opbrengst. We produceren nu eigenlijk veel te veel stroom voor ons eigen huishoudenverbruik. Dus vandaar dat we met die elektrische auto's ook aan de slag zijn gegaan. Ons plan is om zoveel mogelijk met eigen zonne-energie en elektrische auto's de eigen stroomvoorziening te doen. Dus overdag schijnt de zon, we slaan het op in de batterijen van die auto's. En de eindgebruikers van die auto's geven aan hoeveel ze moeten rijden. Dus dat deel komen we niet aan. En de rest van de batterij gebruiken we om de energie in de wijk terug te leveren. En je ziet eigenlijk dat die auto's steeds grotere batterijen krijgen. De actieradius gaat nu van 100 naar 200, binnenkort naar 300 kilometer. Je hebt ook al auto's 400, 500 kilometer actieradius. Die batterijen zijn zo groot, daar kun je een huis in Nederland 2 weken mee van stroom voorzien. En die zijn zo groot dat je hem niet meer helemaal gebruikt voor je ritten. Dus eigenlijk hou je zeg maar een helft tot 2/3 van je batterij over waar je andere dingen mee kan doen. Nou, als je dat combineert, dan denk je van ja, het is logisch. Ik heb overdag zonne-energie en die sla ik op mijn auto. Ik rijd ermee, maar dan hou ik over. En dat stukje gebruik ik om 's avonds mijn huis mee van stroom te voorzien. En sterker nog, ook de buurman en de buurman ernaast. De netbeheerder is nu een laadpaal aan het aansluiten, waarvan we nu 20 nieuwe in de wijk hebben gezet. En dit zijn de laadpunten die dus 2 kanten uit kunnen, laden en ontladen. En deze maken ook gebruik van zonne-energie die in de wijk wordt opgewekt. Je kan dan via je appje aangeven van je mag mijn batterij gebruiken of niet. En al naar gelang hoeveel stroom je in je batterij hebt zitten, gaat hij dan kijken van joh, is er stroom beschikbaar, dan ga ik het nu erin stoppen of juist andersom. Nou, wat we eigenlijk willen is dat je toewerkt naar een wijk waar je volledig die autobatterij op deze manier inzet. Voor Lombok heb je ongeveer 200 auto's nodig, elektrisch, om dat energiesysteem te kunnen draaien. Er zijn 2000 parkeerplekken in de wijk, dus dat is ruim voldoende. Dus wat onze stappen nu zijn, is om eerst met die 20 laadpalen dit te testen. En dan vervolgens uit te breiden naar die 200. Nou, zo krijg je eigenlijk een wijkenergiesysteem die voor een groot deel de eigen energievoorziening doet. Maar uiteindelijk wordt dit wel de basis van je energiesysteem. En niet meer die kolencentrale die op de Maasvlakte staat. Maar gewoon eigen opwekking en opslag.
This new energy system in Utrecht is a first in Europe. The project is still in its start-up phase. But what is to start with 20 car charging stations will expand rapidly to a storage system using 200 electric cars. And as the system grows, it will only work better.
Door het samen te doen ga je elkaar helpen en kun je het systeem afmaken. Want inderdaad, dit microsysteempje werkt leuk, maar als die auto er niet is of er is een paar dagen geen zonne-energie, dan heb je weer de rest nodig, zeg maar. Terwijl de jaarbeurs hiernaast, de wijk, die wil de komende 10 jaar 12.000 vierkante meter zonne-energie gaan plaatsen op al hun nieuwe hallen. En die zijn een parkeerterrein aan het bouwen voor 6.000 parkeerplaatsen, een nieuw parkeerterrein voor de stad. En 3.000 daarvan gaan ze elektrificeren, dus er komen laadpunten. Nou, als ik dan inderdaad even geen stroom heb, nou, dan kan ik bij hun terecht om die stroom wel te krijgen. Nou, en dan ontstaat er een stedelijk energiesysteem wat de wijk overstijgt. En wat dus elkaar gaat helpen om het af te maken.
Now that the prices of solar panels and wind turbines are less of a problem, more emphasis is being placed on finding solutions to deal with the fluctuations in electricity production. But here on El Hierro, the smallest of the Canary Islands, they have solved the problem already. To Jochen Vermut, investor in sustainable energy projects, this small island is the ideal spot to experience a world that will operate totally on sustainable energy.
They have done a miracle. They are maybe the first community to be 100% renewable powered. They built a 113 gigawatt battery. It's amazing because I guess they're an island and they have this amazing leadership and they're going for it. Not just renewable power, but all of it. No waste, biological farming, great stuff. How are you? Fine? Okay. So, we have a wonderful view here.
The island has come up with a clever way of storing excess energy. They use a lake at the top of a mountain and a water reservoir at the bottom. When there isn't enough wind, they drain the lake into the reservoir, thus generating electricity.
This is very important for the island, not only for the electricity, but even for the supply of water. If this reservoir is full, we are able to have energy for 4 days without wind. The project of Corona del Viento started with the idea to be 100% renewable on electricity. The island is very far, we are very, very small. Fuels are expensive and also are pollutant. So fuels help us to develop, but I think that at this moment, if we have a better solution, we don't have to stay on the past. To see you.
Disculpa por el tiempo.
Oh, no, okay.
Estábamos...
Good to see you.
que hacían que el proyecto del Hierro fuera siempre lo dibujaran como una utopía, porque desde una isla pequeña que partía de capital cero era imposible conseguir inversores que pudieran además otorgar al proyecto el carácter de público, que para nosotros era fundamental, como una fuente de no solamente de girar y cambiar nuestro modelo, sino también de otorgar la posibilidad de que fuera una fuente de ingresos segura para la ciudadanía en el Hierro.
I think it's all beneficial. I don't think there's a single negative to the transition to clean energy. First of all, a wind farm or a solar project is going to last at least for the life of the financing and maybe 2 or 3 times that. These might last 40 years, 60, even 100 years for solar projects. And that stabilizes economics. Basically, you know your cost of electricity for the life of that plant. You're not going to have natural gas prices spiking and then dropping, coal prices going up and down. And it's a stabilizing factor for every country that really gets a high percentage from renewable energy.
The more energy we produce from renewable energy is money that stays on the island. Because if we don't have to pay for gas or fuels that came from outside, the money stays on the island. Every step we made, we have looked for others' experience. Yeah. What someone has made on wind, what any other place has made on waste or on organic agriculture. And so we took inspiration from them and adapt to the conditions of the island. And now you can export your inspiration to the world. You can make the whole world renewable like this. Super. A bit more solar, a bit electric cars, and you're perfectly independent, huh?
I do sense that the forces that act towards a geopolitical destabilization and violence are lessened the more we put in clean and renewable energy. It doesn't take it away, but it diminishes it, reduces it. So more stable economy and maybe more peace. I do sense that that's a possibility.
If you say you can produce clean energy, you can save money, you can create employments for you or for your family. All of that are advantages that they can touch, they can see. That's the strategy we must use.
There's a tipping point, and you see this also particularly with solar rooftops. So once you get a lot of homeowners who have them, it's very much more difficult for a politician to say, oh, this is all alternative and silly and it's not mainstream and it's never going to work and so on, because more and more people have the technology and it does work and it does reduce their bills, and they expect their politicians to be on board.
We feel happy when we see that the sea is a little bit rough. Before we was asking for calms for go fishing, but now every weather has its advantages.
It's totally humbling and it's ridiculous that we are in a place where people are, I don't know, they didn't have electricity in '82. They're driving cars for 10,000 euros. Wherever you go, they give you bananas for free or food for free or unpretentious. And they're way ahead of us, way ahead of us. And they are committed because they know for the future of their children, the island, we need to do something. If these guys can do it, we can do it.
And by the way, I'm delaying my retirement now 2 years so far, just because I'm having so much fun.